Have you ever wondered where you'll settle down someday? And I'm not talking about like the location in the United States. I'm more talking about rural America or in the urban community, better known as just cities in general. Today I'll be discussing why living in rural America is better than living in an urban community. My credibility on this topic: I was born and raised in southern Indiana on a farm, very small town. So lived that life for 18 years and then moved to Ball State, and I've lived here for 3 years. And I would consider this to be an urban community. So I've seen both lifestyles, and I've built a position on which I think is better, which I will present today. So the importance of this topic, as we all grow up and we'll be graduating here within the next year or two, we're all going to be faced with job decisions, and potentially with a new job means we're going to have to travel. So moving to a new place, we're going to be faced with this question: do we choose to live in rural America, or do we choose to live in the city? So 3 reasons why I think living in the country would be better. It's more eco-friendly, there's lower health risk as well. You have a closer-knit community, and the beauty of nature itself. So if we look at the eco-friendliness of living in the country, you have less pollution to begin with. If you think about cities, a lot of people crammed in a little space, a lot of vehicles, a lot of stoplights, stop signs. So if you think about all the idling vehicles and the emissions that come off, that's not very eco-friendly. Compared to in the country, you have just large open backcountry roads, or just highways where you're just getting from point A to point B with not a lot of wasted time. So lower pollution. Also in the country, you have the ability to grow and raise your own food. So as I stated earlier, I live on a farm. We raise our own vegetables. We raise our own animals and butcher for eating. So that's more eco-friendly. And you can compost your old food or animal waste into fertilizer, so being somewhat sustainable. And consumerism is a thing that Americans usually like to partake in. So get as much as you can get, what you can afford, and just binge on that. But when you live in the country or in rural America, you can't always get everything that you want. So you live on what you need, not necessarily what you want. So lowered health risks, they go hand in hand with being eco-friendly. So as I said earlier, all the people crammed in one space can lead to anxiety and greater depression rates. According to Douglas Mental Health University Institute, being born and raised in a major urban community is associated with greater higher risk of anxiety or mood disorders. And also, as I stated, with the population or with the pollution, you can get diseases such as cancer or any other life-threatening diseases with the pollution factor. So it may seem contradicting by saying it's a close-knit community, because if you think of the country, you think of people being sprawled out all along the countryside. But I found a statistic in the livinghistoryfarm.org, and it said that 97% of our land is actual rural country, but only about 20% of our population lives in that 97%. So if you turn that around, it says that 80% of our population lives in 3% of our country's overall land. So that really blew my mind and made me think of how overcrowded that is, and for one reason why cities build up instead of out, because of that lowered footprint. So with this overcrowding, in my opinion, that's one reason why the stress and the depression is so high, because so many people just on top of each other. It's easy to get annoyed with each other. A reason that I think that country people are close-knit, because we share resources. It's more of a community. How can we help each other, be better off in life? And people know each other better. This image just shows some old Western guys sitting on the porch, and this stuff still happens today in rural America. And they provide a support system for each other. And from a personal experience, a few years ago we had some farm machinery break down on us, and we were really pressed for time, and some of our neighbors, just out of the kindness of their hearts, showed up and didn't think twice, just offered to help pick up where we couldn't. So they definitely are a support system, and and it's nice to have whenever it's offered. And finally, the nature and the beauty of nature itself. So whenever I think about rural America, especially here in Indiana, just watching the sunset over the river, no obstructive buildings in the way. It's just pure nature and what God's created. The smell of crops growing after a summer afternoon rain. The sound of nothing but a cool breeze in the night. And they're things that you just take for granted in life. And one thing that I really found was seeing the stars. Came to Ball State and I could look up and see maybe a handful of stars, but when you're out where there's nothing, there's no skyscrapers or any obtrusive lighting, you actually can feel like you can reach up and grab the stars. So it's just little things in life that until you've experienced it, you don't really know what you're missing. So to refocus, as we graduate and we leave the academic world, we're going to be faced with this question of where are we going to choose to live, and ultimately, this decision can influence where we work. And I mean, it's a back and forth conversation. So where will you choose to live, in rural America or the urban community? I've given this topic and the information that I've provided, I propose that each location has their benefits and their downsides, but I agree that living in the country outweighs the city, given the close-knit community, the beauty of the nature, and the lower health risk and increased economy and economically friendliness of the countryside. So, thank you.